Welcome everyone to hi Raymond, everyone to the week three live lecture. And this is Professor Andrea Benjamin, and it is already week three. And so this class goes by really quickly, given that we have 5.5 weeks. And so I guess you could say that we are at the halfway mark of the class. And so this week we're talking about the product offering. And I was able to read everyone's product offerings from the week one assignment. And so um, they want to point out that the product development process really entails where you may brainstorm as a group within the company on several different products. And it's almost like a funnel approach where only certain products make it through that funnel to be able to be brought to market. And so I'm going through the same thing myself. I actually started a business this year. I'm selling bath um, and body products like lotions and butters. And so it's a very interesting process for me to determine which products I'm going to offer. Some I make, some I resell. So um, that's what they're pointing out here. What is that process? And so you've already kind of gone through that process somewhat in thinking about which product you're going to offer, for your course project. And so one of the things that they want to also point out regarding product is that you have the features and the benefits that the product is going to offer. And in some cases, on the feedback that I provided, I kind of steered people to look at augmenting some of the features. And so if I had that idea for you, I provided that feedback to you with your week one assignments, but you want to have a selection of features and benefits that really kind of distinguish your product in the market. You know, you're not looking at necessarily having a product that has offers the same features that a competing product has. So because you want to have a compelling reason for someone to be able to go out and purchase your particular product. So, in looking at what is a product, and of course, product is one of the four P's, which are product, place, price, promotion. And so, a product may be an entity, service, idea, or a combination of the three. And so they're saying that you should design products for customer value, that the customer would get some type of intrinsic benefit from purchasing your product. And so value is part of the equation in the marketing definition. And so here I have some assignment tips that in your product description, you should include a short statement describing the key features of your product. What are the features that stand out regarding your product? Also, with the value proposition, what value does your product commit to deliver to customers? What are the key benefits of using your product? What problem does your product help customers solve? And so let's take a look at, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the assignment so that we can kind of get a reference as to what we're talking about here. Um, with this week three assignment, you have a headline. The one thing regarding the way that I look at these assignments is that you want to respond to each assignment request. So don't forget something as simple as including the headline um, as a part of this assignment. So make sure that that's included. Then you have the product description, which are the key features, like a short statement regarding the key features of your product, and then value proposition. You can also Google value propositions. There are several resources out there that gives you an idea of what and how to structure a value proposition. So here, these statements here, what is the value of product? What problem does your product help to solve? Gives you some guidance about it, but you can also search yourself to be able to see what other value propositions look like. I'm going to talk about reason to believe statements a little bit later. Of course, you probably already have some idea of what your suggested retail price is going to be for the product. You're actually going to include either a picture or a drawing of your product during the week 3 assignment. And that's all I want to say about the assignment for right now. I'll come back to the rest of it a little bit later. So the reason to believe, those are it is the proof to the customers that they will actually get the promised benefit. And here, if this works properly on this link, I'm going to give you an example of a reason to believe. So here are some examples. It can include the features of the product, including any technology that makes it work, facts about the product, the brand name, endorsements. This is probably one of the endorsements is probably what you recognize. When you see a toothpaste, or I think it's Sensodyne is one of the commercials that says 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this particular toothpaste, well then that's an endorsement that is a reason to believe. It's why customers, the proof to the customers that they'll actually get the promised benefit. Let's see if they have another example. It could be a history of or the backstory of how the product was created. So you're giving that consumer a little bit extra information to be able to say, hey, this product is going to work. New concept for you. So I want to pause and see if you all have any questions about the reason to believe. This is one of the requests from the assignment. And you'll have this link that you can go to later on. So does anyone have any questions about the concept of the reason to believe? Okay. The next concept is the product life cycle. And I really love this particular marketing concept. It is a concept that explains how a product, from the time it's introduced through the entire lifespan or life cycle of the product. And it is represented by a bell curve. You see the little bell curve there? with the different colors. In fact, that is the answer to your week 3 live lecture question. The format of the graph is a bell curve. And so what it does is segment the life cycle of the product into, let's say, the introduction phase, where it says startup. That's when the product is first introduced. And so let's take the iPhone, for example. When it was first introduced, I believe that it only had one vendor, I think one distribution partner, that was AT&T. And that line, the curve of the line, is showing you how the sales started from zero, from when it was introduced, as it went up to an inward climb to increase the sales. And so in the beginning, that intro phase is the first phase of the product life cycle. And you can see it on the left-hand side there. Then it went into the growth phase. And there are different characteristics of each phase. For example, there's a difference in the revenue between the intro, growth, maturity, and decline phase. There is a difference in the type of advertising that is done from a product that is first introduced versus a product that is mature. If you look at the ads for the iPhone when it was first introduced and compare it to the ads that they have today, there are probably going to be some differences. Number one, as you go through the product life cycle, you gain more competition. You know, when the iPhone first came out, it probably had few competitors that offered similar features. Samsung probably wasn't even on the map in terms of a head-to-head competitor because the feature set was so rich and so different. But as it went through and traveled through the product life cycle, it gained competition. It also, because it was a product set of features that consumers liked, it also increased in sales over time. But the other point I was making was that the promotion changes over the time due to the landscape of the competitive nature of the product traveling through the product life cycle. And so then after maturity is decline. Decline is a phase where there's little advertising that's going on with the product. It is on its way out. If I were to go to Walmart and, you know, aisle shelf space at Walmart is at a premium. Companies compete for where they're being placed on the aisle. And so those products that are at eye level have premium spots as far as the consumer is concerned. But if I have to bend over and go to that bottom shelf, you know, on that aisle, well, then a lot of times that's where the products that are not being promoted and who may be in the decline phase. Not in all cases, but in some where they're on the decline phase. Think White Rain hairspray. Hadn't seen that in a while. Think BO5, things, products that you hadn't seen in a while. We can all think of some that, we probably grew up with, but we don't see any advertising anywhere, regarding these products. Those are the products that are considered in the decline phase. And what they've overlaid on this particular chart, which is separate from the product life cycle, they also overlaid the BCG Group matrix, which is the Boston Consulting Group, where it groups products into 4 categories of question mark, star, cash cow, and dog. And those groupings are just what companies use to group their products to say, hey, which one is making money that we're not spending a whole lot of advertising on? That could be a cash cow. Which product are we promoting that hasn't really taken off yet, but it has potential? That's a star. Which product is it that we're putting money into, but we're not seeing the sales that we expected, well, then that could be a dog. And then which products are we kind of halfway putting money into, but we don't really know if it's really going to turn out to be a star, a cash cow, or a dog yet. And those are the question marks. So I wanted to make sure that I emphasized the different features of the product life cycle. If I'm not mistaken, there's some part of the assignment which you're going to discuss that. Um, so we'll come back to it when we look at the assignment and see if it's included. If it's included, well, then I'll give you another opportunity to ask questions about it at that time. Moving on to marketing research. Marketing research is a very in-depth area of study that has some very specific concepts. It is broken down into two types of research, primary and secondary marketing research. And so when you talk about marketing research in your papers, you should be able to utilize the concepts from the text and state what type of marketing research are you using. And so in the chart here, they're showing you what types of research qualifies as primary research. That includes surveys, focus groups, interviews. That's where you're collecting information from the consumer or the prospective customer. And so you're collecting the data. That's primary research. On the other hand, the second type of marketing research is secondary. That data was collected by somebody else. That could be trade journals, it could be databases on the internet, it could be census data, but it was definitely collected by somebody else. So those are the distinguishing characteristics between primary and secondary. So you should be able to state in your paper what type of marketing research you're going to use, be specific, and then why you chose to use it. And that one of the things I want to also point out about the different types of research, you see that bottom row that says the key disadvantages between primary and secondary. The primary, the main disadvantage of primary research is that it usually costs more than secondary research, and it takes longer to get. And the reason why it takes longer is because if you wanted to, let's say, get data from 1,000 consumers, how long is it going to take you to get that? You can't just look on a database or a website somewhere and get that immediately. It takes time. And so if you're going to survey 1,000 people, it's going to take time for you to get 1,000 survey results back. So that's why it takes longer. And then the key disadvantage of secondary research is that the data may be too old for your needs. You know, like for example, the census is taken every 10 years. And so the last census was in 2010? So, you know, databases are not updated on a daily basis. So it's not that data that you get from a secondary marketing research source. It's going to be older than that type of data that you can collect yourself. So those are the two primary categories of marketing research. So in this assignment, you're going to describe two ways that you will do market research to identify who your target audience is. So are you going to use surveys? Are you going to use questionnaires? Are you going to use the observation technique? Are you going to research databases on the internet? So you're to discuss the type of marketing research, meaning is it primary or secondary, and how will you implement that research? How are you going to use it? And why did you select that particular type? Like, why did you use an in-person survey versus a questionnaire, an email questionnaire. If you say you're going to use a face-to-face survey and you want to survey 1,000 people, well, is that really the best method for you to use? Because it's going to take a while and some resources to be able to survey 1,000 people versus sending out an email survey where you can send it out to 1,000 people. So there are advantages and disadvantages of each different types of research. So you may want to take a look and see which one best suits your needs for the information that you want to gather. So another aspect of this assignment is to create a persona that represents your target market based on your research. And I've given you the definition of persona is the way you behave, talk, etc. with other people that causes them to see you as a particular kind of person. The image or personality that a person presents to other people. So if you were to describe your target market based on your research, what is persona that you would say? What is the image or the personality that you would describe as your target market? That's what they're asking for in persona. SWOT analysis, I don't know if you've had that in any of your other courses, but it is a big deal because it is a key competitive process that companies of all sizes, small, medium, and large, all types, big, Apple to the smallest company may look at the SWOT analysis as a way to be able to see what areas they need to beef up with their product line or their products. And so it consists of your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And you can see strengths and opportunities, well, actually strengths and weaknesses are internal to the company, and it says there in the definition. And then opportunities and threats are external to the company. And so what you do is that you assess what are your strengths of your product in comparison with your competitors. Why would someone buy Dial soap over Ivory soap? What are the strengths of Dial soap? What are the weaknesses of Dial compared to Ivory? Dial is antibacterial, but it's a strong soap if you particularly look at that gold bar, the original Dial soap. So compared to Ivory, it would not necessarily be good for sensitive skin. Ivory soap is known to be 99.9% pure. And so it says one of its slogans is that it's so pure that it can float. So, you can use Ivory soap, the white bar, the original bar on babies. Wouldn't necessarily do that with the gold bar from Dial. So that may be a weakness for Dial that is not really suited for sensitive skin. So an opportunity for Dial may be to have an antibacterial soap that's also available for sensitive skin. And an opportunity for Ivory is to have a sensitive skin soap that may be antibacterial. And so that's what a company does when it assesses their strengths and their weaknesses and their opportunities. Now, the threats would be if Dial were to get a sensitive skin soap, that would be a threat to Ivory and vice versa. So each company today probably uses a SWOT analysis. It's what keeps companies competitive. Particularly in this retail landscape that we're in right now, where Amazon is just, beating the pants off everybody. Companies such as J.C. Penney's is closing. In my city, J.C. Penney's is closing in one mall. Sears is closing. Companies have to do a lot to remain competitive. And they can't do a SWOT analysis just once. They have to do it regularly to remain competitive. And so I have to give it to Walmart in that they recognized that Amazon was eating its lunch, and Walmart decided to also offer free 2-day shipping. Okay? And you don't even have to be a Prime member to get that on their Walmart.com. It's because they did a competitive analysis and they realized that that was one of the reasons why Amazon was doing so well. And so my point is, the SWOT analysis is a good tool for companies to continually utilize. You can tell I'm real passionate about it because, if companies fail to realize how competitive they are, that's not good. And I just went through the SWOT example with Dow soap and Ivory soap. As you can see, it's like one of my favorite all-time SWOT examples. And also pointed out here in that Dow soap, remember we did the SWOT with it being antibacterial, and there's that gold bar. And then they needed to look at some of the other markets. And so here you can see that they did come out with Dow soap for kids. So they probably did a SWOT analysis to be able to expand their product line because they realized that it was an opportunity for them, a part of the market that they were missing because of that original formula of their soap. And so here, just to kind of touch bases on a value proposition, it is a promise made by the seller to the buyer about the benefits that will be received. And this is straight out of your book. So I encourage you to take a look at the different value propositions. Read it first, and even if you want to run by your value proposition, email it to me just to see if you're on the right track. I don't mind you doing that. So because it takes a while to kind of fine tune succinctly in approximately 2 sentences what your value proposition is. So kind of read it first, give it a try, and writing it out. If you want to run it by me, just email me. I'm online every night, all weekend, so I don't mind at all, okay? So getting back to the assignment, we covered each one of these items first. I went over the reasons to believe. You have some reading to do about the value proposition because you have to kind of read up on it first to kind of get an idea and see some examples out there of what others are. The second part of the assignment is to include a summary that explains the rationale for each component in the concept statement and why you chose certain features of your product. Why did you choose the price that you did? What are the key benefits highlighted are the most important ones? And so it's a summary that explains the rationale of the components of your product that you chose. Then you're also to describe 2 ways that you will do market research. And so we talked about that in the marketing research slide. You're to create a persona, which is the image of the personality of your target market based on your research. And then you are to create a SWOT analysis for your product to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And my guidance there on the SWOT is that you do want to use a competitive product. I get a lot of questions sometimes with certain products that people will say, well, I don't really have a true competitor for my product. So what you want to do is find the closest product to yours that you would consider a competitor. For example, if you have automated lawnmower, then there may not be other products out there that is just automatic, lawnmower. Then what you want to do is compare it to um, a lawnmower that would be equivalent in value. So it may not be a direct competitor in terms of the features, but it's the closest to it. So if you have any questions about um, what you should use as a competitor for your product, once again, email me. Um, I will respond. And in terms of the type of graph that illustrates the product life cycle, it is a bell curve. So that's the keyword. And let me just pause and ask if there are any questions. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if there aren't any questions that you can think of right now as you go through the assignment, if you have any, feel free to post it in the course messages or email me, either one. I look at both places each day. So with that, I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.